Wow! What's happening, everybody? That's right. We back, baby. We back. We back. How is everybody doing? This is your boy, Stanley Doucette, and we are on Let's Talk with Stanley Doucette. I am your host, and we got another good one for you today. Listen, grab all of your relationship friends, grab all of your cousins and your family members, grab your business partners, grab your associates, grab everybody, because today we're going to be talking about why people don't want to grow. Why we just don't want to grow. Hey, in relationships, why we refuse to grow. That's right. Let me say it again. In relationships, why do we refuse to grow? You know, before I get into it, because I'm excited about this, I'm excited about this one for real. We got to get it in, baby. We got to get it in. I got notes on my phone, on the computer, on my notebook, everywhere. Why we refuse to grow. So before we get into that, let me just say thank you for everybody that's listening in and coming in every week and saying hello, and I pray everybody's getting some type of goodies, some type of download, something to put in your toolbox, your mindset, your thought process, or whatever it may be that is continuously helping you grow and be the very best version of yourself. It doesn't matter if we talk about politics, religion, it doesn't talk about spirituality, regardless of what we're talking about. It doesn't matter. I just want to make sure that all of us are living a high quality life. Now, if you look at what's going on in today's society, we got a war going on in America with Iran and all of that stuff. You have unspoken wars that's going on. You have rumors of wars. And I know a lot of people are talking about, we're fulfilling prophecy and what's happening in the Bible and what's happening here. I'm not getting into that today. But here's what I want to say to everybody. Please be careful. Wherever you're traveling, be careful. If you're on a driving, be careful. If you're on a kayak, be careful. If you're on the water, be careful. I just want to make sure that as we continue to grow, I want every single person to know it is time for us to continue to grow and continue to get better, because we don't want to be in a relationship and we're the one that refuses to grow. You know, shout out to everybody that's in America, Canada, Mexico. Shout out to everybody that's in Africa, the European Union, the African Union, Australia, South America, Brazil. It doesn't matter. Shout out to everybody. I don't want us to get distracted today, because I'm thinking about all of the different distractions. We talked about the wars. Now I also want to talk about this. Everybody in America is talking about the war, the gas prices, the Epstein files, and what happened with Melania Trump and all of her explanations, a couple of days ago, a few days ago, on Friday. All of this stuff going on, distractions. Let's bring it all back in today, and let's talk about us. Let's talk about us. Because a lot of times we refuse to look at us. We look outwardly. And we look at how we can help others and how we can do other things, but let's look inwardly. Can we look inwardly today, family? Just today. Can we look inwardly, and maybe tomorrow and the next day, but let's just start looking inwardly, because I don't want us to literally I don't want us to just look outwardly and then we're rotting from the inside. So let me just put this first one out here. And they're talking about, people resisting growth and why we refuse to grow and all of those stuff. So number one, and this isn't a lot of them, a lot of things we've been talking about, is fear. Number one is fear. If you're driving, come back, rewind it and listen to it and then take notes there. But everybody else, write this down. Fear, fear, fear. That's right, fear. Now we got all kind of acronyms for fear. False expectations appearing real. So we understand that. Fear is something we made up in our mind. The discomfort of uncertainty. That's all it is a discomfort of uncertainty. So now we're talking about growth in a relationship. If you're in a business relationship, if you're in a love relationship, if you're in a friendship relationship, sometimes people don't grow. Now, this is, oh my God, oh, let's sit down for this, baby. When we refuse to grow, that stops a lot of things. But now when you're talking about being in a relationship, whether again it's a love or a friendship or a sister relationship or brother relationship or what have you, brotherhood, sisterhood, and so on, and we refuse to grow, that stops a lot of things. But here is the first thing I want to point out when you talk about fear in your growth and that uncertainty. A lot of times we don't want to leave our friends, business partners, associates, or relatives, lovers behind. We just don't want to do it, right? We don't want to do it. Now, let me put a caveat here. In your growth, I know sometimes you're growing, you may be growing at a faster clip than someone else. So I get that. And that's fine. But that's not saying they don't want to grow. What I'm referring to right now is a lot of people just don't want to grow, or they refuse to grow. Now, when you refuse to grow, all bets are off at that point. That's something totally different. So that's where the fear comes in. So when you specifically are growing and your partner, whether it's again business partner, a friendship, a relationship, in terms of a love relationships, etc., don't want to grow, then that's a different thing. We got to look at that. We have to take a deeper look at that, because your creator may be pulling you into a location or somewhere that you have to go, right? And if you're growing into that space and somebody don't want to grow with you, then you have to take a hard look at that relationship. Let me give you an example. Let's say a cruise. I'm going to use something simple. Just use a cruise. And you're in a relationship, a love relationship, and you say, hey, let's go on a cruise. And the person says, oh, I don't want to go on a cruise. Okay. And it may be something there that triggered something, right? It may have got caught in a bad situation. They may have had bad water when they were on the last cruise or whatever. And okay, that's something that's legitimate. That's legitimate. But if you say, let's go on a cruise, they've never been on a cruise, then they say, oh, I just have a fear to go on a cruise. Okay. Any reason? Are you scared of water? No, I'm not scared of water. Are you scared? You know how to swim? Oh, I absolutely know how to swim. You know all of these different things, right? But you're just saying, I don't want to do that because, and you give this excuse of, I don't want to be like the Titanic or any crazy stuff. Now you're refusing something. Now, this may not be the best version or the best example, but I'm trying to get to a point, because now you have to go into the communication side and try to understand what's the reason, because now it starts to sound like resistance and are refusing to grow, which goes into communication. They may have some type of toxic communication there. So you move from fear, then he may move into a toxic communication situation, because that person may not now have the discomfort of uncertainty. That person may be feeling like, you're outgrowing now that and let me go back. In that relationship, in the communication, he or she may have said, listen, deep down, they're upset because you got this new job, this new promotion, this new business, your business have exploded. You have tremendous growth going on your, I'll say business or career side. And they may not have had that growth on their career side. So when it goes into the communication side, they're saying they don't want to go on a cruise, but actuality, what they really want to get into is feeling less than. Sometimes people feel less than when you're growing, and even when you're trying to help them grow. Because inside of that, they may not, in their mindset, instead of just sharing, hey, I'm feeling some kind of way because now you want to purchase us tickets to go on this cruise, right? And I'm feeling less than, especially men in certain situations. You might be like, wait, hold on. Now you want to take me and you want to buy me a trip to go on this cruise, and some men, not all men, may be thinking, wait a minute, I can't afford this. And now I have her purchasing me. So now it goes from fear of not the fear of not wanting to grow, but now it goes into a toxic communication situation. Then it goes into a different part of fear or not wanting to grow, understand any type of situation because they want to lead. Now it goes into selfish and all kind of other things. So when you're talking about refusing to grow, it's not just one thing. You can see how fear just the fear saying I'm not going on a cruise can turn into toxic communication. But deep down, I have a hidden thought in saying, hey, this is how I really feel. I don't really want to go because I can't afford it. And you have outgrown me on I'll just say the public side or the image side or your career side or your business side. And now your partner is feeling some kind of way. So even when you're talking about growing, right? Yes, you're growing, but make sure in your growth, you're not leaving certain things or them feeling a certain way. Make sure you give them the opportunity to completely express themselves. You become that safe landing. You become that soft spot, right? You don't want them to begin to start to feel insecure. Number two would actually be insecurity. So you don't want them to feel insecure. You don't want them to be preferenced as the weaker partner. Oh, this is good. You don't want them to be the weaker partner. And sometimes in relationships, whether it's business, whether it's friendships, whether it's even love relationships, a lot of men sometimes feel insecure if their wife or their girlfriend or their woman or their boo began to make more money than them. Yeah, let's talk about it, because now I don't want to grow. Now I just want to sit on a sofa. Now I just want to sit in the basement. Not because, a lot of times it's not because of the money, but it's because now, oh, this is so good. Now you begin to feel, a man began to feel a certain way because, watch this, they're insecure from the manhood because they're thinking I'm supposed to be the provider and I'll make more money. On the female side or the lady side, she's starting, in some cases, this lady, so don't be mad, in some cases, not all cases, women will be like, well, I'm starting to make more money, so now I'm starting to control things. I'm starting to run stuff. Now you got a collision. And now the relationship refused to grow. Even on the business side. Yes, on the business side, you could be in business, but as soon as one person begins to grow a little bit more than the other, for an example, you can be in a relationship and then one person may understand more contracts and getting more sales, and you may be on the technical side, whether it's the computers or whether you're doing something on the healthcare side or actuality doing something with daycare, and you physically dealing with the children and the kids. Your partner may be dealing on the business side, making sure the contracts are in place, making sure you got all the proper curriculums and, so on and so on. So now all of a sudden, the person on the sales side might be like, I'm the one that's bringing in all of the business. So now they're starting to feel a certain way. So now the person that's actually dealing with the actual kids and teaching them every day, they may start to feel a little less than. So now they're like, wait, hold on now. Wait a second. I don't like how this is going. But then once again, it goes back into a toxic communication instead of us beginning to, as I like to say, be grown and talk to each other about it, because you don't want somebody to feel weaker or the lesser of thee, whether it's in a love relationship, a business relationship, or even a brotherhood or a friendship. One thing comes to mind when we talk about this. I think this is good. Is when we talk about it, you think about it from a standpoint of titles. I'm going to say it again. titles. If you get promoted on your job, your business begin to grow, you get your own business and it's growing and all that, a lot of times people begin to feel insecure or feel be the weaker partner, not because of something you did, but it's because of the growth. And now because you're growing, they're feeling, wait, my business or my career is not growing. So now I'm feeling as the weaker partner. Yes. That's an unfortunate, but that is truth. Now, how do you break that? And I'm going to get to another one about comfort and complacency, but how do you break that? Proper communication. Yes, yes, yes. We have to have proper communication, because if you get into toxic communication patterns, well, you may not be speaking and you may give in these nonverbal clues and all of those other things. Yeah, that becomes toxic. So now in communication with your partner, whether it's a lover, a friend, brotherhood, sisterhood, or whatever else it may be, we have to make sure that we are properly communicating with our friends, family, relatives, lovers, etc. Because if not, it can literally stop people from growing. Now, I know we talked about people resist growth because of fear, because of insecurity. The other one is comfort or complacency. You know, hey, I don't have to go on a cruise. I'm comfortable sitting on the sofa and watching whether it's NFL or NBA or MLB. I'm comfortable. Whether you're watching a soccer match, I'm comfortable sitting on here. I don't need to go to, if you're in New Orleans, I don't need to go to the parade. I'm comfortable sitting on the sofa. I don't have to go to the movies. I'm comfortable sitting on the sofa. I don't have to go here. I'm comfortable here. Listen, our business is doing a couple $1 million a month. I'm comfortable. We don't have to become a $1 billion company or $100 million. I'm comfortable here. See, all of those things are reasons why people resist. That's why they resist. That's why they resist, because of fear, insecurities, and complacency. Yes, that's why they resist. Now, I want to make a small pivot in this and get into actual love relationships, about why people refuse to grow. Man, you guys know a lot of times when we do things in relationships, we don't want to take accountability. Because see, when you grow, that adds on accountability. That adds on responsibility. So we don't want to necessarily do that. So check this out. If you're married, in a serious relationship, dating somebody, and that person introduces you to something new, obviously your mind have expanded and you're growing. That you're starting to grow. So you understand something new, right? But it may be something you're uncomfortable with because you want to stay comfortable or complacent in your world. You don't want to learn anything else. You don't want to become something else. Even though it's beneficial to you, all you want to do is stay in this one place, because now that adds more accountability to your plate. And what most people don't want is accountability. Most people don't really want accountability for real, for real. Let's not play with it. We don't necessarily overall want more accountability. I remember I was talking to my mentor, and he had said, hey, I want you to really begin to concentrate on, let's just say, my personal goals, right? Okay, cool. Well, I may not want to do that, because I was comfortable with just kind of chilling. I'm, good place in life. The joy that's coming from me is tremendous. But now you're asking me to grow. Look at my personal goals. Why? I don't want to. No, let's keep it 100, right? Your mentor come to you and say, let me look at your personal goals. And you may be like, oh man, I don't want to look at no personal goals. Look, I'm happy today. We're doing great in business. I don't want to look at that, because now you're accountable to that particular conversation, and now it's going to force you to grow. But what we want to do, fear, because now I got to look at it, because now if I add on there, well, I'm making, a couple $1,000,000 a month now. And now we're talking about going to $10 million. Oh, that's going to add accountability. Now it goes into fear, because now you're going to start talking about, well, I need to go and purchase this high rise downtown, and we need to get into this. And now I got to get into a part of real estate that I may not be familiar with, even though it's growth. But now I don't really want to get into that, because now if I get into that, I got to learn this and I got to do this. I don't necessarily want to do it. So I'm comfortable if I just sold coffee. I'm comfortable if I just sold tea or lipstick or makeup. I'm comfortable if I just sold used cars. But I don't want to go to the new car lot, because if I go to the new car lot, then that means I got to learn all of this new technology, and then that brings in the fear part, and then the mind starts playing these tricks on you. I feel like dun, 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 dun. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. Let me come on back. I know some of y'all start bouncing to the music when I say your mind's playing tricks on you. But anyway, come on back, y'all. Come on back. So you don't want to do this technology with the new cars. No, because now you got to go to X, Y, and Z dealership to or their school to learn the new technology on the vehicles, right? You got to make all of those adjustments, and now you got to grow, and now you become accountable, because now when customers come in, they're asking you about what is this button and what is that button. Now you have to know it, and now it's like, oh wait, I was comfortable, I knew all of the used cars, but now, oh, you making me grow. Now I don't want to do that. So now you just want to just stay comfortable. You just want to stay complacent. I'm good. I'm good at making this $100,000 a year. Well, you can make $1 million a month. I'm good. I'm good. See, those are the things in relationships, especially in personal relationships or love relationships, we have to be very careful about. Another thing is too, inside of those personal relationships, I have to bring this back up, is communication. It's communication. Most times we don't want to converse with somebody, especially in love relationships, when it's a difficult conversation. We don't want to, because we want to avoid that conflict. We want to avoid it. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. We don't want to fuss, or we don't want to tell a person their breath stink. It's funky. We don't want to say that, right? And then when we do get to a point where we do say it, they have pressed you so hard and so far, then it comes out bad. It comes with energy. It comes with bite. It comes with edges. It comes from a negative side. And all you really want to do is tell them, hey, go to the store and get some Listerine and squeak it through your mouth so we can kill out that bacteria or whatever's in your mouth, right? We don't want to say that, because now it's like, oh, now we have all of these things. So you would prefer to have your wife or your husband walking down the street and their breath smell like a garbage can, because you don't want to communicate with them, or you haven't learned the proper way to communicate with your lover. So now it goes into a conflict. And what happens is that stops the growth. What's the growth in that? That stops the growth of your communication with him. That stops the growth of helping him or her. I say him, but it could be her, right? You don't want to tell them that their feet stink. Like, ooh, wife or husband, please don't take your shoes off in public, because they are absolutely atrocious. Like, you take them off and the garbage man start running. So we don't want to tell them that. But that communication is something we must conquer, right? When you're talking about in a conflict, let me give y'all a tip on something. If you have a conflict that you have to discuss with somebody, or it's going to be something you don't necessarily want to talk about, but it's something that has to be, and it's going to be something hard, it's going to be something tight. A lot of times what I do is say, hey, let me share this with you, and I share this in love. I share this from the depths of my soul. I want to share with you because I love you, right? You start to share with them. I'm not saying this to hurt you. I'm saying this, but I have to share with you that, listen, I don't know if we have to go to the dentist. I don't know if it's something that may be a tooth decaying, or if it's just something we have to brush better. We may have to get an electric toothbrush. But unfortunately, your breath may not be the best most of the day. And you kind of take it and do it as soft as you can, but you are still communicating with them from love and a soft perspective. You can't, I know a lot of times people are like, oh, just tell them how it is. Oh, listen, hey, Stanley, your breath stink. Oh, okay, I sure appreciate you. And then now if I come back and say, yeah, but your feet stink. Like, don't ever take your shoes off in public ever. They smell like a hot blank. Right? So now it became a conflict. So those are some of the things that stop us from wanting to grow. Because now the communication, it becomes a conflict. We don't want to adapt to change, because now I may have to brush my teeth 2 or 3 times a day. Right? I may have to put baby powder in my shoes, or soak them in something to kill whatever that may be. Or I may have to go to, what is that, the podiatrist? Or the feet doctor, right? You may have to go to the foot doctor to get whatever that is taken care of. But then you start to thinking, well, I don't know if I want to adapt to change. I don't want an electric toothbrush. Well, but your breath's thinking, I don't want to kiss you. Don't do that, because that goes into bad communication. Y'all rock with me today. Y'all rock with me today. Listen, this is so good to me, because there's so many things that come out. Every time it's another subject or a topic, as more things come out, right? Here's another one. Emotional regulation or maturity. Some people are just not mature enough to receive any kind of growth, right? They don't want to grow. They're not mature. There's no other way of saying it. They want to continue to use manipulation. They want to be insecurity, controlling behavior, rather than just cultivating a self-awareness or emotional maturity. That's what it should be. But what most people want to do is they want to stay insecure. They want to be manipulative. They want to control behaviors. They want to stay in control because they don't want to grow. Now, let me pause here real quick and let me roll this back. I done just popped into my head. In a relationship, and they talk about equally yoked. Some of y'all may have heard of that, meaning both people fit together like a glove, right? You can fit together like a glove, but that does not mean that you won't have some kinds of conflicts inside of each of you being equally yoked. That's not saying that. But if you are equally yoked, right, you have the proper communication and you want to grow because you trust what that other person is saying. But a lot of times, I'm going to say it. I know this is going to hurt some people's toes. Some of y'all went to the altar, not only that y'all not equally yoked, but God actually told y'all not to get married. So y'all, then the defense for each partner, each spouse is this. Well, what God put together, no man put us under. Yeah, that's a lie. Let me just tell y'all, because God didn't put y'all together. So y'all can't stand on that. Stop lying. I'm going back to stop lying to yourself, right? If you want to grow in everything, number one, make sure you remove the fear, you remove insecurities, and you remove complacency. Then you start taking accountability. You start communicating more effectively. Adapt to change. Adapt to change. Stay mature. And when you're being vulnerable, let me just say this. When you're being vulnerable in terms of communication, make sure in your vulnerability, the other person, please do not use that against them later on in life. Please don't. You talking about totally destroying a relationship? Let a lady or a man tell their partner something and they're completely vulnerable. And then they use that. Let me tell you guys something. I'm gonna go real personal on this one. This real personal, this real deep. But I hope this helps somebody. I really hope this helps somebody, right? So when I had my surgery, and in my surgery, my back was itching. So in my surgery, one of the things the doctor told me is I had prostate cancer, and we're gonna do the surgery, and we're gonna take out the prostate and all of the other stuff. And I was like, ooh. So the first thing is this, and this is all in growth, right? This is all in growth in the relationship. So the first thing was like, man, ooh, I'm not sure if I want to do it, but I know it's for the best, because they told me I could never have kids again. Now, I'm not saying I was out there trying to go have, 10, 20 more children. That's not it. But it's a difference when you make a decision or when somebody tell you about your decision or what you're going to do, right? So anyway, got over all of that, had the surgery. And I remember the doctor. Now, this for grown folk. If you got kids in the room, y'all might want to tell them to dismiss themselves for a second. So when I had the surgery, one of the things the doctor said was, hey, Stanley, you may never have sex again. And I let me make sure the mic is on. And when he said that, I said, what? You may never have sex again because you're taking out the prostate, you're interrupting the whole chain, and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, ooh. So my vulnerability is I told someone extremely close to me, very, very close to me. And I said, hey, this scares me. This scares me because I'm young. I'm not even 50 yet. And now you're talking about for the rest of my life, because of that, I may never have sex again. Woo! Then the doctor starts saying, well, we can do this and we can do that, but in terms of naturally, you may not. Man, that thing took me out. Let me keep it a whole 100. Because we're talking about why people refuse to grow. And part of it is when you becoming vulnerable, that somebody bring it back, and then you just go like, you know what? I ain't gonna ever tell nobody nothing again. I'm gonna just stop right here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm gonna stay stagnant right here. So when that thing hit me like that, and fellas, y'all know if somebody told you that, you may be sitting there like you're scratching your head, and you just, if y'all looking at me on YouTube, you see me scratching my head, not just going back through these emotions like, oh Jesus, like, whoo, right? So you get to a certain place. Check this out. I told somebody extremely close to me, right? And I said, this is a vulnerable moment. Let me just share this with you. And I shared it with them and say, man, the doctor said I may not ever have sex again. Or lady, I may not have. I ain't going to tell y'all who I told, because I know y'all like, ooh, who he told? Nosy. So it was like, may not ever, So later on, went through some stuff and was like, oh my God, wait a second. I could have sex. I'm excited. Oh, I'm all thrilled. But before I finished the surgery and get it out of surgery, I didn't know how my body was going to react. And I shared this with somebody. And when I shared it, I was like, man, and I was nervous, right? So now let's push forward a few months. Now I have some medication that I'm taking. I was on a hormone therapy. I'm going through radiation because they was being very, very, very aggressive to kill anything that may have reflected on cancer. Going through all of that, and I shared this with that person, and later on, they got upset about something, and I will never forget, they brought up that situation. Listen to what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen. When they brought that situation up and used it for a negative, I was literally crushed. Listen to what I'm saying. I was crushed because I was extremely vulnerable. I had opened up everything and shared that with them. And they began to use that in one sentence they crushed me. Yep, they crushed me. And when they crushed me, I was deeply wounded. I was devastated. But let me share. So, went on later, and body began to heal, and I began to become physically able to do whatever I wanted to do, right? Whether it was sex or anything else. So I was all happy. I'm all excited. But that one moment destroyed a relationship that will never be repaired, because you do not throw somebody's vulnerability back in their face. Now, I can hear some people out there saying, oh, Stanley, you got to forgive. Yeah, I forgave, but I didn't forget. I forgave, and I'm like Maya Angelou. Once somebody show you who they are, believe them. I believe who you are. I'm going to take that to the bank. But when I share with you guys, ladies and gentlemen, that thing took me some counseling, days, weeks, months of counseling, massive amounts of prayer and everything, because that person took my vulnerability and threw it back in my face. And for a long time, hear me clearly, I refused to grow past that about being vulnerable or opening up to anyone. I didn't care who you were, not because of something way down in the past. It was because something, I was vulnerable. I shared a vulnerable moment, and that person literally tried to use it to destroy me. Yeah, I'm better now, but baby, let me not get y'all confused. I will never speak to that. That relationship is gone. It's destroyed. It could never be repaired. Yeah, I will be cordial. That's about it. It will never be repaired. So when you're talking about growth in relationships, make sure all of these different points that we talked about, whether it's fear, insecurities, comfort, or complacency, whether you're talking about accountability, you talk about communication properly, change, making sure you are mature, and especially if somebody's being vulnerable. All of those things are reasons why people refuse to grow. Now, before I close out, let me just share all of these things, right, to make it real simple. How to actually, on the opposite side, how to help people grow. It's real simple. In my opinion, this is real simple. Write this down. Ding, 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 ding. It's very, very simple. Compassion. Compassion. Love. You have that, and you sit down with that person, your communication is going to be different. You're going to love them from a place inside of your creator. So when you're communicating, you're holding them accountable, but yet you're not sending blame their way. They're fearful, you're going to hold their hand when they're walking. They're feeling insecure, you're going to hug them to make sure they know they're not the weaker partner. When they're being comfortable or complacent, you're going to encourage them to keep moving forward. And I can go on and on and on, but it comes from the depths of love and compassion, because just because you got the aha moment does not mean that they got the aha moment at the same time. So family, when you're talking and thinking about in relationships, why people refuse to grow, those are just some of the reasons. As we continue to press forward, look inwardly. Matter of fact, your homework assignment this week is to look inward at yourself, to make sure that you are growing. You want to make sure that you are growing, and in your growth, that the people around you that's supposed to go with you are actually learning from you, and you're sharing love, you're sharing compassion with them. So whatever situation they may be in, you hold them close to your bosom and allow them to keep going forward. All right. So listen, family, that's going to conclude it for today. I love these topics. We can talk about this until, God comes back. I'm telling you, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. So listen, let's get on out of here. Next week, we're going to have another power. There's a few guests that we've been conflicting with, but we're going to get it locked down. I got some surprises for you, got some returning guests and all of that stuff. But I wanted to just get on here today and share that because I feel growth is very important, but it's also relationships. And inside of our relationships, we all will grow. All right. So let's make sure we look inside of ourselves this week and make sure we're doing what we supposed to do. So I'll see y'all next week on the beaches of the world. Y'all know your boy gonna have some fun. Holla at your boy. We out. Peace.